Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. So today we're going to be talking about our hyperthermia sessions and how they were completely different to one another. It's very interesting. So Kimberly's going to take you through her two hyperthermia sessions, and I'm going to take you through my one, and they're completely different.
Yeah, so they were even different for me both times. So even if the same person is doing hypothermia twice, it can be different both times, or however many times you do it. So basically, I'm going to take you through my first time, because I went, and then he went, and then I went a second time. So I'm going to take you through it like step by step, exactly what to expect. And my two times are very different. So let's talk about the first time, and then he'll talk about his, and then I'll talk about my second time. Okay, so the first time that I did hypothermia, I hope I don't forget anything, because I haven't really thought about this. It's something that you conveniently forget. So basically, I didn't know what to expect. You wait in a waiting room, and then they just come through and they just call your name. So you're waiting with everyone who's doing hypothermia. There were two other people with me. They were in the same room as me, and then he was with me as well, just waiting in the waiting room. And then they called my name, and then I just walked down the passageway into the hypothermia room, and they told me to lie down on the bed. And it's basically I was the first one in, so it's basically like this heated it's like a heater on top of you, and you lay on the bed, and it's very intimidating. So you're basically told to lay on the bed, and the first thing that you see is like this big heater on top of you, and then the two other beds are next to you with the two other patients, but there's a divider. So, okay, so sorry, before you lie down on the bed, they tell you to take all your clothes off. So you take everything off, and you put it into a little like basket, and then they take that from you, and then you lay down on the bed. And then, what do they do? My heart was beating. So I wasn't like that nervous in the beginning. I was like feeling like strong and confident, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And then when I got into the room, they just called my name, and I went into the room. My heart was like dum, 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 dum. It was like beating so fast. And the nurses, they're very serious, because it's a serious procedure. So they're very serious about it. They tell you exactly what to do. So you'll have your IV needle in, and I think they hook you up to something like a line, IV line. And then she told me to turn around. I had a blanket over me. Sorry, I'm trying to remember this. So I had a blanket over me, and she told me to turn around so she could put the thermometer in. Okay, so some people have this done when they're already sedated, and some people when they're awake. I had it done while I was awake. So I turned on my side, and basically what they do is they stick a thermometer, and when I say thermometer, I mean like a long pipe. It's not like a normal thermometer. It's to measure your internal core body temperature. So they stick a thermometer all the way up your butt. There's no better way to say it, right? Okay, so they stick it all the way up your butt, but they do it like very slowly, and it's not, to be honest, it's not that uncomfortable. It's okay. So they do that, and then they turn you back on so you're lying on your back again, and then they put a like cardiac things on you so that they can monitor your heart throughout the procedure, and they put an oxygen mask over your face so you breathe in really, really good quality oxygen. So the whole procedure you're breathing in this really good quality oxygen. And yeah, and then they basically tell you, okay, it's time. And they put the sedation into your pipe that goes into your arm. The sedation, what it feels like, because a lot of people are scared to just like fall asleep or just be put to sleep. A lot of people are scared to lose that kind of control. But to be honest, what it felt like for me is I started to relax, and they ask you how you're feeling when they put it in, because they want to see if it's working. So they say, how are you feeling? I think that's why they ask you. And then I just said, I'm feeling a bit better. I'm actually feeling a bit more relaxed. She was like, good. How are you feeling? And I was like, I'm feeling sleepy. And she was like, good. And the next thing I was sleeping. So it's basically just like falling asleep slowly. I was like a bit nervous about that as well. Okay, and then when I woke up this time, I woke up and the heater was still on, and I was very confused about whether I was still in the procedure or whether the procedure was done. I was like very confused, and I heard somebody like moaning next to me. They had already woken up, so I was kind of like just confused about what was happening, and then I started to just feel very emotional. I'm not sure why. I felt very emotional. I felt like my heart was beating very fast, and I did feel a bit like I couldn't breathe properly. So I said to the nurse, like, my heart's beating fast. She said, it's okay, we gave you heart medicine during the procedure, it's just from the heat, it's all good. And I was like, I can't breathe properly. She's like, your oxygen levels are fine, it's probably just because, you know, you've been in heat and now in oxygen, and now you're not in oxygen anymore. And yeah, I basically just felt really like tired, like heavy on the bed and very tired. And I remember I was trying to like lift my arms and like I was like looking at my hand. You feel like very drugged up. And then yeah, they put you in a wheelchair and they'll wheel you out. And how did I look when I came out?
It made me very scared for my one, because my one was a few days after Kimberly's first one, so she was crying, like you said, she was very emotional. Anesthesia makes her very emotional, so she was crying her eyes out. I mean, there was tears like I've never seen on her face before.
Really?
Yeah, so I was petrified, to put it lightly, for my hypothermia session. I felt very sorry for her as well. So yeah, and she did not look in a good state at all.
What did my face look like?
She looked like she didn't know what was going on, and there was just the water coming out her eyes like crazy.
And you said I was very pale.
Yeah, very pale. There was no color at all in her face. So I was very scared for her as well as scared for my hypothermia.
Basically, you're very confused because you've just woken up from like a hectic procedure and you're drugged up and you're just like very confused. It's the first time you've been through it, so it's a weird feeling. You just don't feel in control. You feel just very confused is the best way I can describe it. But then they take you to the ICU and they keep monitoring you and checking you, and they're giving you fluids and everything's good, and you slowly start to like cool down and things start to improve. And yeah, then I just felt my heart beating a lot. I mean, obviously my body had been through a lot, and I was breathing fine at that stage. I wasn't complaining about breathing. What else was I complaining about? My heart and just being tired, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when you got to the bed, you were just like, I'm exhausted, and you just fell asleep. Then you woke up, fell asleep again. I mean, this is
I slept. Then I just slept. And then the next day I was fine. I felt like fine. I still felt a bit tired, but not like Lyme tired, like normal tired. Anyone who has Lyme will know what I mean. It's not like a Lyme tired, it's different. It's from the sedation, I think. And then 2 days later is when it hit me. So 2 days later, I started to get pain in my chest, pain all the way down my back and my neck and my arms as well. So like an aching pain. So that must have been where the Lyme died off most. So I was in a lot of pain, and I don't usually get pain. And the chest was really bad, and I was having like heart palpitations. And what they said is that during the procedure, sometimes they put something down your throat to clear out the phlegm in your lungs, and it goes like into your chest, and that's why your chest gets sore afterwards sometimes. So if you have chest pain afterwards, you're not having a heart attack. They do monitor you and everything. It is just because they've cleared out your lungs, they've put a pipe down there and they've done some clearing out down there. So, and then the other pain is obviously just from the reaction, from the Lyme, or just your muscles being tired. I'm not sure actually really what, but I think it's a good thing. It means that there's been die-off happening and that you're healing. It's a healing pain.
Yeah, and obviously you need to, I mean, if you feel that pain, you feel the discomfort, ask for something from the nurse. Ask them to take the pain away while you're there. I mean, you're suffering in so many different areas, so many different antibiotics you take in and medicine, that you just take a painkiller.
Yeah, because you're healing anyway. You're there to heal, and they're there to help you heal. They would never give you something that would hinder your healing. And then the other thing that I felt was absolute nausea. If you put food in front of me, I did not want to eat it. But he said to me, eat the food because it's going to give you energy. And that's a tip that I can give to you all, is even if you do not want to and you just like push it away and it takes you a long time staring at it before you eat it, force yourself to eat something, and force yourself to eat quite a bit, because otherwise you are not going to have the energy to recover. It helps you with your recovery.
And the more you eat, the quicker that nausea will go away. Because if you just don't eat, I mean,
that's true, yeah.
yeah, if you don't eat, then it's just going to stay there. So just try force it down your throat.
Prove to yourself that you can do it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great, so I'm going to go on to my one. I was unfortunately unlucky because my hypothermia was on a Monday. So with the colon cleanse being on a Friday and there being a weekend.
Oh yeah, I didn't talk about my colon hydrotherapy. Yes. I'll talk about it in my next hypothermia.
So basically, I had the colon on Friday. So throughout the weekend, there's no one there. So there's nurses there, but there's no doctors to do the colon cleanse the day before my hypothermia because it's on a Monday. So what they give you the day before the hypothermia is they give you 2 sachets of clean prep. And I'm sure a lot of people know about this clean prep. It doesn't taste the best. And also you start smelling like it, and it's very nauseating, the smell.
We have a video with him talking about this, so I'll link that below so you know all about the clean prep in case you want to have a look.
And then I'll go on to the hypothermia. So the hypothermia, I was very nervous. Like I said previously, when I saw Kim come out, I was like, oh my God, this is going to happen to me. So when I got there nice and early. I was ready for it, but I was very scared. Obviously, I was trying to put on a brave face. There were a lot of people around us. And then I went in second. And as soon as I got in there, they said, okay, so now you need to take off everything and you need to lie straight on the bed to make sure that you're not uncomfortable because it's a 5-hour procedure, 6-hour procedure. So I did that, and then they hooked me up into my IV.
How did you feel?
My heart was pumping. I didn't know what was going on. I just saw these things come over me, the heaters. And basically she said to me, don't worry, you'll be asleep before you know it. And I didn't realize that was going to be the case. I thought she was just trying to make me feel better. But honestly speaking, they put the oxygen in my nose and they put the anesthesia straight through.
It's not anesthesia, it's a sedation. But okay. Yeah.
They put the sedation through my IV drip, and within seconds I was out. I don't remember much. The only thing I really remember about the first part was being really, really scared. And then waking up. And when I woke up, I didn't want anyone to touch me. I said, leave me alone, to everyone that was coming near me to try to get me into the wheelchair, because my back and my stomach was in such agony that I could hardly move. I felt paralyzed, to be honest. But I didn't feel it like, oh my God, I'm going to be paralyzed for the rest of my life. I felt like it was just so uncomfortable, I couldn't move. And I lay there for about an hour and a half. And actually, Kimmy was waiting outside, so she was very scared.
So there was one other lady in there with him, and I saw her come out, and she looked like fine. She looked normal. And then he was supposed to come out, but he actually came out a whole hour, over an hour after that lady came out. And I think it was like 2 hours after the procedure was done. And all I heard was the nurses like fussing over him and him moaning, like, oh, like I heard like moans and groans. I was sitting outside, and then the nurses were coming in and out of the room getting things. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? What's happening? And I kept asking the nurse, what's happening? She'd be like, he's fine. And they were just very busy, obviously. And so so the one time that the nurse opened the door to the hypothermia room, I looked in, and he was like wrapped in like this like blanket thing. And I didn't know at the time it was the hypothermia blanket, because I was sedated when they put on the blanket and they strap it up. It has like Velcro straps. So I was like, is he dead? I thought that he was dead. And I started to have a full-blown panic attack. I was like running up and down, like asking people if he's okay. And then he eventually came out.
Yeah, and then the next thing I remember, I was in a bed and I just wanted to sleep for days and days and days. And yeah, that was my hypothermia session. I will say that I was fine after that. So for, I don't know, I slept for maybe 15, 16 hours. Mm-hmm. And then I was pretty fine after that. And it only really hit me a day later. I started feeling nauseous and I didn't want to eat at all. But like we said before, you have to try, force yourself to eat. And yeah, a few days later I was fine, but I was still having a bit of back problems, still a bit of stomach problems. But I think that is a sort of die-off. I think that maybe I did have Lyme disease, or there was something else.
Or just a little Lyme,
Just,
that was starting to set up camp.
Exactly. So I'm pretty happy I did it, because now I know at least I'm clean from Lyme. If I had it, if I didn't have it, well, I did it, which is going to help both of us in the long run.
Thank goodness you don't have Lyme.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else about it that stood out to you?
The great thing about my one was they put me to sleep before they put the thermometer up, so I don't remember that part.
Just hope that you get that. I actually asked my nurse in the first time, I was like, please can you just sedate me first? And she was like, no, just turn around. And I was like, okay. Okay. So my second hypothermia was very different to my first. I was still feeling the effects of my first one. I wasn't feeling strong enough. I was feeling like my body was very overwhelmed, very fatigued. I still had symptoms from my first one and I just didn't feel ready, but I did it anyway. Apparently some people actually opt out of their second one, but I would not suggest it. Definitely just go through with it. It's necessary. So basically, I arrived there and they took me through first again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they took me through first again, and I was nervous, actually even more nervous this time. I don't know why, I was just more nervous the second time. From the get-go, I was nervous, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it was because I was feeling weak that I was so nervous. And then it was basically the same when I got in. I had to take my clothes off, lie down on the bed, they put a blanket over me, they put the thermometer in again, and then she put me to sleep, and the feeling was actually very nice this time. It was like quite slow, and I just felt like relaxed, and then I fell asleep. It was very nice. At that point, I felt really relaxed. So before the procedure, I felt really relaxed. This time when I woke up, the heater above me was switched off, and it was actually cool air coming through. It was like an air conditioner, like blowing on my face, and I felt pretty good. I was happy. This time I was happy. The last time I was sad, this time I was happy, and I was like, woo, I did it, and I feel fine, and everything's great. And so I got into the wheelchair. I don't think I needed much help, and I came out with my arms up in the air, like, woohoo!
She was literally happier than anyone else around her. I mean, I hadn't been through hypothermia that day, but she was actually more happy than I was. So it was quite surprising. She came out like a rock star. And obviously you can see that in her hypothermia video, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, my second hypothermia video. Okay, and then when I got to the bed, I think I was actually very swollen when I looked back at the video, but I didn't realize it. And then I just slept, right?
Yes.
We talked for a bit, and then I slept, and then, yeah.
And I think you got up a lot earlier in the second one than you did in the first one.
I felt a lot stronger than the second one. Yeah. And then what else? Oh yes, and then after the second one, 2 days later, it hit me again. I was hit hard. I was down for like 4 days. It was really worrying. I didn't feel good at all. Let's just put it that way. You just feel really bad, like really, really awful. And a funny story. So I have a little bit of a funny story I forgot to tell you. So after my first hypothermia, when I got into the ICU room, I was like really thirsty. I forgot to mention that I was really thirsty. And I asked Ross for some water, and he was like, but are you allowed to have water? Because usually you're not allowed to, you have to like fast. And I was like, yes. And he's like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, the nurse said. And I don't even remember any of this. He only told me afterwards. So while I was sedated, I lied to him. And I told him that I was allowed to have water. And he fed me 2 big bottles of water. So that was like very naughty of me. I didn't know that I was naughty under sedation, but that happened. So partners, beware. People might lie to you if they're really thirsty. But that could have enhanced the nausea. I don't think it did anything serious.
So guys, the bottom line is, yes, we went through some pain, we went through some suffering, but you know what? It's really not the end of the world. I mean, I've seen Kimmy go through much worse things with the Lyme. I've seen Kimmy go through much worse things with her Lyme disease. So if you have Lyme disease, it's just another speed bump in the way. So just buckle up and trust the process, and before you know it, it will be all over.
For me, it wasn't the worst I've ever felt in my Lyme journey. I felt much, much, much worse before. So I was very worried previously, before coming to the clinic, that it was going to be the worst I've ever felt. I don't do well with physical activity. I don't do well with overexertion. So I was so scared because they compare hypothermia to running a marathon. I was terrified. But it isn't the worst that I've ever felt. And we got through it.
Yay!
And we're very proud and happy that we did it. And next we'll be updating you on how I'm doing. So yeah. See you next time.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe down below. And if you like the video, please do so as well.